Hey guys, Abel here with the Sustainable Self-Development Podcast. And in this episode, I have a really cool interview with Adam Mcdonald, who is a travel fitness vlogger of sorts, although he would probably not like this description. But he kind of became known on YouTube because he documented his contest prep. In fact, several of his preps, where he basically prepped while traveling the world simultaneously. So I think this can be a really interesting conversation for many of you guys because deep down, I think a lot of us desire these cool experiences that traveling can provide. And we tend to sacrifice a lot of that because of our fitness lifestyles and because we worry about not being able to hit the gym or being on point with our nutrition and all of that stuff. And so I really wanted to have someone on who can break some of these fears and mental barriers down for us. So Adam in this episode will provide some cool insights as to how you can manage these things effectively. Now, a little warning, the sound quality is not the best during this interview, so try to listen closely, but hopefully the content will make up for the not super ideal sound conditions. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Please let me know what you think of it. And without further ado, let's hear the interview with Adam. Okay, so hey Adam, how's it going, man?
Hey, hey man, how's it going? All good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, you bet. And yeah, for people who may not be familiar with what you're doing, could you just tell briefly what you do for a living and then kind of online and what you became known for on the internet?
Sure. So actually, I had been working in IT in Microsoft for like 3 years, and I actually just left about a month ago. Set up my own business with two other partners. It's basically body transformation experts in person, and we do online as well. So I'm basically a personal trainer now. But how I kind of built up my following online was that I competed with 3DMJ. So you had one of the previous coaches, Eric, on before. He was one of my coaches, natural bodybuilders. And I did a competition prep for a physique show called WBFF. It's a fitness competition, which I did at the end of about September, I think it was, in 2016. And I basically started a YouTube channel around a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, and with the goal of documenting my full prep and traveling as much as possible to prove certain things to myself during that prep. And that was a pretty amazing experience.
Okay, so you mentioned that you wanted to prove some things for yourself by traveling and prepping at the same time. What was it that you exactly wanted to prove with this?
So there was like a lot of dogma behind, um, bodybuilders or people within the fitness industry, that they're kind of sometimes they're like assholes, or they're not really the nicest people, and they have to suffer a lot, and they can't do certain things. And to an extent, that's a little bit true. Um, you know, people, especially people that've been in the fitness industry for quite a while, they feel almost entitled, and that's the entitlement is kind of due to like feeling like they have either a kind of like superiority complex or even inferiority complex where they can't enjoy the certain things that people do in life, such as partying, going out with friends, drinking alcohol, traveling as much, like I said, or they either feel like they can't do it because of their fitness goals, or they feel like they look down on other people for doing that. And what that leads to is a kind of sense of entitlement, as I mentioned, and that is essentially a feeling that you deserve better than the life that you currently have, and it kind of doesn't give off favorable kind of gestures, and it doesn't come off always in the nicest kind of way with people, and then it kind of leads to a negative feedback where people who aren't interested in fitness or the fitness industry kind of see people within the fitness industry as not being the nicest people, and then it kind of just gets into a circle of negativity. But and that's not for all people, but I wanted to prove to not just for others, but mainly to myself that it is possible to go out and enjoy yourself, to go out and party, because I love to party, and I love to travel, and I still wanted to compete, and I didn't want to pigeonhole myself and just lock myself away from the world to get ready for this competition. Because a great quote that I heard from Dr. Lane Norton, who's a natural pro bodybuilder, is that if you neglect your spouse, your family, your friends, and you have a great physique. You're not an inspiration. You're just an asshole with a great physique. So I really wanted to try and encompass that and become, do more than what I was doing before I prepped. So I used to travel a bit, but just, for the time a year, maybe twice a year. But I really wanted to set a goal of traveling at least every 8 weeks, and it ended up being about every 4 weeks. So in my prep, which is probably about 30, 40 weeks long, I can't remember exactly how long it was, but I traveled to 15 countries over 10 unique trips.
Right. So during this traveling period, and I love what you said because, like you said, it's easy to fall in love with training because it provides a lot of self development, personal improvement, all of that stuff. But it's easy to become kind of one dimensional in a way, where you miss out on a lot of fun things. So did this period where you were traveling a lot taught you basically that you could enjoy yourself a lot more while bodybuilding than you previously thought it was possible?
Yeah, because previously, when I was a little bit younger, I never really wanted to go out and eat. I didn't want to travel too often because I felt that I wasn't able to get my training in or my meals in or something like that. But if that's really having that much detriment on your life, and it's not like I'm not a bodybuilding isn't my life. It's there to enhance my life. But when you cut yourself off and use all these other things, it actually is taken away from your life, not just adding to it. So I realized, I guess, with age, I've been training for almost 10 years, and this was my second prep competition. And my first one was kind of a negative experience where I cut myself off, and I just dieted hard for, I think it was 23 weeks the first time, but it wasn't a great experience at all. I focused really, really on the outcome. And what I tried to do over the last few years is to focus more on process-based goals rather than outcome-based goals, because at the end of the day, you're doing it to be happy or to make your life more filled. But if you're just focusing on this end date, which I did in my first prep when I was 21 in 2013, you realize that you're not really enjoying it up until the very day you compete. And then after that, it's a big high, but then there's a massive low afterwards. And this time around, I made it more process-based, and while I traveled, I enjoyed it very, very much all the way along. And even when I did finally step on stage, yeah, it was exciting and fun. But I placed top 10 in an untested show, so an untested category. So I was pretty happy with that out of a big class. So, but I wasn't really fazed by it because I enjoyed it the whole way along, and I wasn't just this build up to this one massive thing and then an anticlimax. So the reason why I decided to do this and focus more kind of on the process is because of past experience, and I realized, that it's not just about one thing that you're looking to make you happy. And if anybody that's ever trying to find like what makes them happy, they always feel like the next thing is going to make them happy, the next thing, and it always feels like it's just around the corner, but it's never really, you never really find it, and it's like, oh, now I'm happy. It's always about trying to overcome adversity and trying to get meaning out of some fulfillment, or the struggle that you go through. So it's the process that makes you happy, not the end goal. So I wanted to make it more around the process and enjoying the whole journey. And it was definitely a lot more enjoyable than the first prep.
Yeah, no, it's I definitely agree. Like we us humans tend to fall into this trap where we think that happiness is going to be attained once we achieve certain goals. And I think I read this in Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. I don't know if you read that book, but he says something to the effect of oh, nice. He says something to the effect of, if you're not enjoying what you're doing right now, then it's very unlikely that the what you will achieve at the end of that process will make you happy. When we are speaking of traveling, if you wanted to give a pitch to someone as to, hey, dude, this is why you should travel because this is awesome, what would you say are the biggest things, most valuable stuff that you got out of traveling over the course of the recent part of your life?
I would say that it gives you a lot of perspective on different things. It opens you up. It makes you more confident in, your interaction with people. It allows you to understand them more as well, because I travel to a lot of places by myself just due to the fact that I didn't have someone that wanted to travel every time I wanted to travel. You know, of course I would like to travel with people all the time, but it didn't always work out that way. But I didn't let that hold me back. But what you realize is that certain things or beliefs that you thought were indigenous to the place you live are actually, you know, present in other countries. And then certain things that you thought were, you know, worldwide beliefs or norms are actually unique to where you're from. And that's a pretty cool experience. But you also realize that the world is a place of people that all pretty much have the same needs and desires. And I made another thing that I really enjoyed was the connection that I made with people. And that was probably the biggest thing that I enjoyed about the traveling was the people that I met. Not necessarily always just the places, but the different people, the different stories that you meet, the different stories that you get to hear from the people around the world. It's just it's just amazing experience, and it's very hard to describe unless you've gone and done it yourself. And it's not like you just go to, you know, fly to London and then back, or where it's these kind of unique places that you don't really think of, that really open up your eyes, that are different from the place that you live in. There's different people and different experiences and different backgrounds and cultures and that sort of thing.
Right. So when you decide to travel to a new country, and I'm of course asking this from the perspective of bodybuilding as well and just fitness, but just on a whole, do you have like kind of a set routine that you got comfortable with when traveling to a new country, like certain things that you like to do right away to ensure that you have certain grounds covered, or is it completely random and just dependent on the place?
Obviously, while I was traveling, I still was prepping, so I needed to keep the goal, and that was to get leaner and step on stage with as lean and as big as possible that I could. So I needed to obviously train and eat correctly. So while I did travel, I always made sure that I prepared in advance, so that I would set myself up best to win, even if it was a situation that wasn't going to be, you know, ideal. You know, obviously the ideal situation, if your only goal is to get the best physique, is to just stay in the same routine, same gym, probably, you know, same habits, same sleeping habits, etc. But obviously that's not going to be the best thing for you mentally. But what I'd always like to do is always research where I was going to go, probably you know, at least 2 weeks in advance. I'd look up Airbnb, so because Airbnb, they generally have your own kitchen, so, you know, it wasn't that I was just going out and eating out all the time, because that's definitely not ideal, because you can't track that stuff. Well, you have to guess a lot, so I was trying to cut that down to a minimum if possible. But I'd make sure that I get an Airbnb, because I have a kitchen that I cook. I bring a scales, always. I bring my weighing scales for my body weight to keep my check-ins going, but also a food scales, which is really important. And then I'd always make sure that I pack whey protein, because in pretty much any country that you go to, you can get carbs and fats pretty readily, you know, anywhere, because that's what people like to eat. But lean protein sources aren't always available, so I made sure that I brought at least like 2 to 3 servings of whey protein for each day that I was there. I mightn't always use that much, but just to be on the safe side, I'd also bring like some other supplements like fish oils and multivitamins, and that was pretty much just the basics that I bring with me, because I didn't really need anything else. But I'd also make sure that I researched a gym if I could, to my best ability, to try and find a gym over there, and, you know, make sure that I kind of stayed relatively close to that.
Right. So from a lifestyle perspective, when you go to let's say you travel to a new country, do you try to put aside, for example, working out at the same time every day, or do you just try to live life there as much as possible and enjoy yourself and just fit in training kind of on the go, on the fly, just spontaneously? So if this question makes sense.
Yeah, no, like even when I train at home, I don't necessarily have a set time that I train on it. I just work around my schedule. So when I travel, my goal when traveling wasn't just traveling there so I could hit the gym. It was traveling there so I could make experiences, visit the sites, do different things. And so I would fit around. And, you know, maybe let's say I trained 5 days a week when I was, you know, in a routine where I live in Dublin. When I traveled, maybe I'd only get 4 days or even sometimes 3 days. But that was okay, because I wanted to go and make the full experience of the country that I was in. But as well, generally speaking, when you do travel, you do a lot of walking. So I'd rack up like I use a Fitbit, so usually my daily average would have been like 15,000. But when I traveled, I'd do so much sightseeing and different things like that. That would double that. So my NEAT, or my non-exercise activity thermogenesis, would go right up just from the fact of walking around the city or the countryside or whatever it was. So even if you kind of wear a little bit off and your macros a little bit, you went a little bit over. Some of the times when I was abroad, I actually dropped more than when I did when I was at home because I was just walking around so much.
Right. So we're going to get into the technicality a little bit in a minute, just, what you mentioned already. So bringing whey protein, certain strategies that people can use if they want to travel. But would you say that there is anything that can potentially make dieting or even prepping for a show easier while you're traveling? And I'll specify what I mean, because many times I'm telling people that one of the biggest things that stands into people's way into succeeding on a diet is kind of just being bored and sitting around food too much and not being distracted enough. And I imagine that while you're traveling, this is not an issue because you're always doing something. So would you say that from that perspective, traveling can even make it potentially easier to be in a caloric deficit and in diet?
Yeah, because I prepped for quite a long time. One of the reasons being was to allow myself to do this travel. If I was prepping for, like, let's say 12 weeks, which isn't ideal in any case, but I know some people do that short. There's no way this is ever going to work because you need to be so precise. The longer time period you give yourself, the easier it is. And I think I lost about 20 to 25 pounds within like 30 plus weeks. So it wasn't a massive weight loss per week. But yeah, of course, because anytime I went to the country, like I said, I didn't eat out all of the time, but I did try the local foods. Like when I was in Germany, I tried the hot dog things that they have, the schnitzel or whatever they're called. When I was when I went to Morocco, I ate tangine with the Berber people up in the mountains. That's their food that they make with couscous and stuff. Obviously, it was going to be really hard to track the macros in them, but because I've been tracking for such a long time, for 5+ years now, 6 years, I can make it a rough estimate. And of course, it wasn't just like I go out and eat for every single meal, but when I was abroad, I did try to, you have the local food where possible, and even while still tracking that, while I was in Scandinavia, have like the fresh salmon, which is delicious. In other countries have like the fruits, the vegetables that are unique to them countries, but you can still get all this information on my fitness and like that. A lot of the stuff is online now these days, so yeah, of course, you try different things when you're over there, and it breaks it up. It's almost like a little diet break, but it's not really a diet break.
Right. So then let's get into some of so you mentioned already that from a nutritional side, obviously, the challenge when you're dieting and especially when you want to get very lean is that you need to get in food sources that are pretty low calorie for the most part and are filling, which can be tricky if you're eating out a lot and stuff. So for one, you mentioned whey protein. Is there anything else that you like to make sure that you have around or that you look up in advance if you can find it in grocery stores or stuff like that?
Yeah, I would always try and make sure as well that there's I bring the whey protein, but that's pretty much the only food source that I would bring because, at the end of the day, everywhere pretty much has vegetables and fruits, and you could almost just live off that if that's all that was necessary, if you had somewhere to cook them. But I would always try and look up, somewhere with a supermarket, because, once you find a supermarket, even if it doesn't have any of the stuff on my fitness pal, such as like when I was in Marrakesh, North Africa, none of the stuff was made even in Europe. So there's not really a fitness culture over there. So none of them was on my fitness pal or anything. But if you stick to like single food ingredients, it's going to be pretty much the same everywhere around the world. Like white potatoes in Africa are going to be the same as white potatoes in New York. There's going to be very, very little difference. So if that was the case where you can't find somewhere that you can track the macros from the back of the label, then I would look at sticking to single food whole ingredients, that, because they're a lot easier to track and you're going to have less variance there. Whereas if you had you eat out in a meal and, you don't know what it's cooked in, you don't know exactly what's in it. And so that's why I try to cook most of the time I try to cook for myself, and I try to stick to single whole food ingredients. But then I would allow myself to go out for the odd meal, when I was traveling as well.
Right. So this actually just brings to mind what countries have you found to be kind of quote unquote the best or yeah, the best or the worst from a bodybuilding nutrition perspective, and I'll to just so that you understand what I mean. For example, the Netherlands, I find that they have awesome foods in their grocery stores. Like they have these very lean dairy sources and frozen berries, which are very low calorie and are pretty cheap. But for example, in Hungary, where I'm at the moment, all of these things are just super expensive. And basically, you can only get like really fatty, really high calorie stuff in the grocery stores for a reasonable money. So have you noticed kind of meaningful differences in kind of what kind of foods you can get your hands on?
Yeah, well, like the easiest would have been like the more cosmopolitan cities, like London or New York or Toronto, 'cause they're all pretty much westernized, big fitness culture and all of them. So I don't even really need to explain why they're the easiest, not too expensive. Everything's pretty much available. Uh, but then some of the Scandinavian countries, especially Norway, really, really expensive to try and get in the protein requirements. When I was there for about 2 weeks, and it cost, when you're trying to get a lean source of protein, especially because I'm from the Eurozone going up there, it was like double the price. So you spend a lot of money, but it wasn't necessarily hard to find this stuff, or harder than where I'm from. It was just the price was so expensive. But then when I went to, like I said, I went to Morocco. That was really difficult to find sources of lean source of protein. A lot of the stuff that people eat are just from the stalls on the markets, on the street food and that sort of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff I would try and avoid if I could, keep that to an absolute minimum, because it's probably really high fatty content meat. You don't know what it's cooked in, and then the same with the carbs as well. They're probably there's probably a high fat and carb mixture of the food that, yeah, it's delicious, but it's not ideal when you're trying to prep. And
Yeah.
that was a kind of place that I really need to use all the protein that I had with me, all the whey protein. I actually brought some protein bars with me as well that time, because I kind of do a bit of research in advance to see what sort of culture and how the supermarkets is the menu over there and that sort of thing. But just to expand on that, I purposely didn't go to certain places where I knew that there'd be absolutely no chance of getting any sort of good quality nutrition in terms of bodybuilding. Like, you can get good food everywhere, of course, but I wasn't going to be able to go somewhere where all I could eat was, fruit and rice. So I purposely did that because my goal at the end of the day was still to step on the stage with people who are going to be dieting for just as long hard as I was.
Right. And so speaking still of nutrition, what about, for example, meal frequency? Do you like to do stuff like intermittent fasting or something like that to like save up calories for an occasional high calorie meal or something in a restaurant or something like this?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. So I would generally, let's say when I was traveling, I you generally be pretty occupied, busy here in the morning because you get up early, and I would just have like maybe a shake or even just a coffee, and then save the calories for today. Maybe have like a light snack or a shake or something like that, some fruit, and then that's if I knew in advance that I was going to go out and have a meal, or even go out and have some alcohol. Because when I traveled a lot of the times when I traveled, I met friends from around the world that I previously known, and when you meet friends, generally like they want to go out and party, so did I, and I found that I wasn't always trying to bring up and tell people that I'm always contest prepping. A lot of people that I met probably didn't even know that I was contest prepping, because I don't want to try and make a burden on their life, but I would just try and stick to like lighter calorie alcohols, not drink that much, not try to revolve everything or every social kind of setting around food or eating food. And if it was the case, I'd either just not eat or else, pick an option that I felt was best in the goal.
Right. So now, speaking of we mentioned nutrition up until now. We talked about nutrition. So let's talk a little bit about training. So, how much do you have to compromise your general workout plan or routine or split when you're traveling
In general.
In general, it's not going to be the most optimal training, because your sleep will probably be a little bit off because just, early flights, late flights. And then also, you're doing a I was doing a lot of walking and sightseeing, so I got tired a lot. And then often you can find a gym, but in Norway, for example, it was something like €25 a day. So if I went 5 days a week, it's €125 to go to the gym, which is like a third of my annual membership. So I sometimes I'd have to cut that down, or else even in some other countries I couldn't find a gym at all, or else there might be one small gym in a hotel. I think it was in Morocco. There's zero fitness culture over there. And people were actually, if I was wearing like a tank top, and people were actually like calling me John Cena or Rambo, just because, and I wasn't overly big, I was kind of a small macro bodybuilder, but people just don't work out there really. So it was pretty difficult. I had to kind of blag my way into a 5-star hotel and then pretend that I was a guest and then use the gym there, which was even pretty inadequate. But I also bring like resistance bands and try to do as much as possible. To make it work.
Yeah, can you when you have to go without a gym and still get a training in, have you developed some kind of cool strategies to have a properly overloading training stimulus in the absence of weights and machines and all of that stuff, with resistance bands or body weight only or something like this?
Yeah, so I would always bring resistance bands with me. So obviously I would never bring weights with me because, you got a limit on your luggage. But I would always bring the, mini resistance bands, sometimes even medium sized resistance bands, and do a kind of impromptu workout where I would just train to failure basically, because it's such a light weight and I'm probably using such high reps, and just try to focus really on tension. But it is absolutely not ideal. And if your goal is probably to maintain, even gain muscle, it's not ideal to do resistance training only, or resistance band training only, or body weight stuff like, push-ups, pull-ups, bench sticks and that sort of thing, or lunges. But sometimes, you don't really have a choice and you gotta just make it work. And I found that I had to do that sometimes. But for the most part though, you would find a gym in a lot of places. Like health and fitness is important in a lot of countries.
Right. So, would you say that in terms of training and maintaining as much muscle mass as possible, like, I mean, obviously it's always hard to tell, but if we're looking at percentages, like at what percentage do you think you came out at the end? So let's say if you had a proper gym and if you didn't travel, you would have been able to diet and maintain, I don't know, 99% of your muscle mass, and would have gotten 99% of the results that you could have potentially gotten. Now, what do you think you've gotten at the end? Like 80%, 90%? How much do you think you had to compromise?
That's definitely, it's a very hard question to answer, obviously, because I can't compare I haven't compared the exact same situation without traveling, but it definitely didn't help. And I think I probably would have brought in a slightly better package, if I hadn't traveled a lot. But then, like, I gotta ask myself, would I have enjoyed the process as much? Because I dieted for so long, 10 months. It's a pretty substantial part of your life, 10 months. And, I would never change anything. I do it all to make myself happier and to enjoy my life more, not to get a pro card in a category that doesn't mean anything. I'll get more Instagram followers maybe, but I enjoy the process of traveling and meeting all the people a lot more. And what really makes people happy is the fulfillment of, accomplishing something. And, this was definitely a big accomplishment for me. You're not happy, or you don't really feel like anything's worthwhile if if it's just given to you, like people that, win cars or win money, they don't really appreciate it. But when you work for hard something, you really feel like you struggle through something and you overcome that, and it's a lot more fulfilling. And I was really, really happy that I was able to step on stage. There was definitely times during that period where I felt, I shouldn't travel anymore, or, I'm behind. And with my coach, Jeff Alberts, he's a 3D MJ coach, he had to reassure me multiple times. I even met him. I flew to meet him in London during the prep. That he had to reassure me that it's going to be okay. And because there was times that I felt like, I've been dieting for quite a while and I don't feel like I'm going to be leaner. I do feel like I probably could be becoming a little bit leaner, but that might have placed me moved me from like 8th place to 6th place. It wouldn't have made zero difference to me. My pictures would look maybe slightly different. I'm still fairly lean, but I was lean enough to come, top 10 out of about 30 to 40 people. So, I was happy with that. I wouldn't change anything.
Right. No, no. I think this story is super inspirational, really, from the perspective of this can show people that fitness and a hardcore bodybuilding lifestyle and living a rich and meaningful, fulfilling life don't have to be mutually exclusive. And I think this is really a big mental barrier that a lot of people have to get over. I mean, obviously, if you're about to become Mr. Olympia, or I wouldn't advise Phil Heath to do this, not like he was asking for my advice, but for people who just want to look good and do this kind of sport for just proving their own strength for themselves. I think it's really awesome that you've done this. So I mean, I guess we've already touched on this, but in the beginning, but any kind of big lessons, apart from the fact that it is possible to do this while traveling, any kind of big lessons or eye-opening moments that you've had ever since you embarked on this traveling journey, no pun intended?
Well, yeah. Like I said, my goal was, it was never to. Yeah, of course, winning was nice, but because of the nature of the category and my genetic limitations, or whatever, I don't think I was ever going to be the biggest to try and win. So, but if I feel like, let's say you're a pro bodybuilder and your goal is to win the show, yeah, I probably wouldn't advise you to try and do this. You could travel still, but not go out and try and travel, like proactively travel as much as you can just to prove something, because it's not going to give you the best results. And actually, for the last 3 weeks, I didn't travel at all. Well, peak week I was in Toronto, obviously, but that's where the show was. But for the last kind of 3 to 4 weeks, I did stay in my own place to make sure that I really dialed it in, and everything was on point, and I didn't try to eat out for the last 4 weeks before I went to Canada for the peak week. But what I learned more so from traveling is that, you get a magnitude of experiences across the world, and you learn a lot. But from the very first country you travel to, you get this much experiences, and it's great. And then when you travel to the second country, the experiences go down, or the meaning of the experience go down a little bit, and then a little bit more from the third country, fourth, fifth, sixth. And the more you travel, the more you spread your experiences, the less meaningful they actually become. And you meet a lot of people. I met hundreds of people, and a lot of them are considered like good friends, and I keep in contact. But the more experiences that you have, and the more thinly you spread the experiences, the less meaningful they become. And there's a certain freedom and commitment, and picking either a certain thing and saying, okay, this is it, whether it's a location, a job, a relationship, and saying, this is it, and this is what I'm going to pick, and I'm going to stick with this. And there's a deeper experience that cannot be achieved by perpetual world travel that you get from picking one thing and committing to that. And there's a certain freedom in that commitment. And that's what I've learned, that, there's nobody really that just travels the world non-stop and is ever happy with it. You always have to find something and go deeper with it. Experience. Like, I couldn't have really, really deep friendships if I was always traveling. Because I'd only meet the people for a week at max, and then it might be a year until I see them again. Even some of my closest friends that I met traveling, probably see them twice a year. It's hard to have a really deep, meaningful friendship, but as well as like relationships as well. You can't obviously have a relationship where you can't focus on your business really unless it's solely online business or something like that, which is what I'm not doing at the moment. I'm more in-person business. It's a hands-on bricks and mortar business. So I've actually put back on my traveling this year to focus more on going in depth with experiences rather than trying to mainly spread them across.
All right, so it's a mixed kind of experience on the whole. It seems like, so it was really awesome from one end, but you also learned that it has its limitations as far as how deep of a meaningful experience you can get out of it.
You get a, excuse the pun, but you get a world of experiences from perpetually traveling, but you also miss out on another type of experience.
Right, right. So, so you mentioned that you're not planning to travel anytime soon. Um, you mentioned, I think, in the beginning of the call, but it might have been offline. So, how many countries have you visited during this little mission of yours?
I went to during the prep or around the prep 14, but yeah, the next time I'm traveling is about 4 weeks time. But it's definitely cut down a lot since I travel since I since I finished my prep. I went to one country after the prep to kind of relax on the way home from Canada, Iceland, but then but now it's more focused on building my career and that sort of thing. And then I'll definitely do this kind of thing again where I travel. Maybe not prep and travel, but we'll start traveling again for quite a while.
Right, right. Awesomeness. So, just last couple of questions. One is, what were there any influential books or resources that you came across in the last couple of years, or maybe ever, that have been really influential for you, and you would recommend people to check out?
Yeah, I read a lot of books. I started reading maybe, I used to never read when I was like a teenager. I hated it, but then I started reading about 2 years ago, and I tried to read a book, 2 books a month or so. For some of my favorite books, I have a big shelf of books here, and some of the books that I read with the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Brandon, a really, really good book. I really enjoyed that. The Truth by Neil Strauss, it's a really, really good book to understand people's emotions. What else? I've been reading a lot of stuff by Mark Manson lately. He has a new book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's a pretty cool book. And then I read a lot of Eckhart Tolle as well. I really like his stuff. And also Mastery by George Leonard. So I really like stuff that focus on, understanding of why people do what they do and how you can use that understanding to try and create kind of a happier, more fulfilled life. That's my kind of goal.
Yeah, actually, do you know any kind of cool books? I mean, I could I could have asked this offline, but maybe the listeners could benefit from this. Do you know any kind of good books on like behavior change and habit change? I mean, obviously there is The Power of Habit that I heard of, but that's pretty much the only one I know in English at least.
Change on habit. I'm not 100% sure on habit. I'll have to have a think about that one. I haven't read anything particularly on habit recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that you. Oh, go ahead.
One book I actually just finished and it touches on a good bit of habit is one called Mindset with Muscle by Jamie Alderton. He's actually a competitor in the WBFF.
Yeah.
He wrote a book and he's all about mindset, and he goes through how to create habits and that sort of thing. It's not a book about habits, but it's about having the mindset. And he explains it in quite simple terms, because a lot of books that you read are pretty hard to kind of eat up, and people lose motivation reading the books that are quite heavy. But it's a good book, Mindset and Muscle.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that you were not a big reader earlier and you never read, and now you're making a
Conscious push to read like two books a month, because I'm the exact same. I mean, for the first 20, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of my life, I basically didn't read at all, and I kind of made a mission to start reading. And man, it just I realize what people are talking about when they say that reading provides an experience that they can't really get from anywhere else. So yeah. And another kind of selfish question to the end, which again some of the vlogger or blogger listeners of us can benefit from. What kind of gear do you use for your recordings, and what would you recommend other people to use for stuff that you do?
I use for my kind of handheld ones. I use the Canon PowerShot G7X, and the reason I used that was because it's small compact camera. It's like about this size. It's about that size, so you can just carry it around. You can stick it in the gym as well, because a lot of gyms, they don't want people filming within the gym, whether there are people there. And if you're walking around the city, there's a lot of people get nervous and stifled when they're having a big camera in front of you. But then when I got a little bit more used to it, or like I wanted better quality, I used the Canon Canon 70D. It's the same one that Casey Neistat would use with a Rode mic. It's an external microphone and a thing called a Joby Gorilla Pod. It's this thing. So it's just like a bendy thing. It's kind of like a selfie stick, and you can wrap it around stuff. And I'm also pretty big into photography as well, so it doubles up with that because you can change lenses and that sort of stuff. But other than that, and I used Adobe Premiere Pro, it's the software for editing. But other than that, as people who are into vlogging probably will tell you as well, that it's not the quality of the camera, but it's the story or the information that you share that makes it a good video.
Cool, man. Thanks for that nice info. And yeah, man, it was really awesome to have you on. Just any kind of resources or stuff that you want people to check out, where they can find you, anything like that.
You can check out my Instagram. It's Adam Mac 192. My Snapchat is the same. Or my YouTube is Adam Mcdonald. You can just YouTube that. And then if you want to find out some stuff on training and nutrition, I'd really recommend reading some maybe Lyle McDonald stuff or the Training and Nutrition Pyramids by Trudy MJ. They're pretty good.
Awesome. Great, Adam. Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, good luck for everything that you do. And keep us posted if you keep on traveling or if you stay at one place, because yeah, your videos are really cool.
Thanks.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you got some inspiration to travel and move out of your little shell a little bit more. And this will definitely be a new mindset that I'll try to adapt in the future, that if I'll be in a situation where I'll be traveling and will be out of my normal ways, I will try to view it as a challenge as opposed to this barrier that will get in the way of my optimal fitness progress. So check out Adam's stuff. I link to it in the description. I really like his content. It's informative, it's entertaining and inspirational. So yeah, definitely check out Adam McDonald's YouTube channel. You can also find him on Snapchat and on Instagram and on Facebook. So yeah, I do recommend following him. So thank you guys. Next time I'll have the guys on from Dynamic Duo Fitness. So stay tuned for that one as well. And of course, subscribe to support this channel and be up to date for future content. So thanks for being here up until now and see you next time.